Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Well, the soap opera that the New Orleans Saints continues as the world turns like sand through the hourglass of time. These are the days of our lives. You all remember Michael Thomas tweeting during the NFC Championship game, Derek Carr threw a bad ball that got him hurt. Nobody wants to be the Saints offensive coordinator. Basically crapping on the organization, on Dennis Allen, on Derek Carr, etc. And we all looked at that and were like, okay, well, that's a guy who doesn't fear any retribution whatsoever. There is no threat of consequence. He's got one foot out the door, and it certainly feels that way. But until this point, in the week and a half since, we hadn't heard anything from Derek Carr about Michael Thomas's comments. That is, until this weekend. This just popped on my radar, but over the weekend, Derek Carr went on something called 2 G's in a Pod with Amber Theoharis and James Jones. Now, James Jones was a teammate of Derek Carr's, and Amber Theoharis is someone I candidly have never heard of, but has 250,000 Twitter followers and does a lot of stuff surrounding the NFL. So forgive me for not being familiar with the show, but apparently they do a show and do well. Derek Carr was on this podcast, and they asked Derek Carr about Michael Thomas's tweets, in particular the part about Derek Carr throwing the bad ball that got Michael Thomas hurt. And instead of saying less or saying nothing, Derek Carr gave a 2+ minute answer where he did the thing Derek Carr does all the time, where he doesn't just downplay something or completely take blame and move on. He does this sort of passive-aggressive denial, blame game type thing. Just listen.
I will start with saying this. I love Mike T. I really do. I love him. I think when I came in, I don't know how many years it's been, where he's gotten hurt and didn't finish the year, but there was a lot of frustration there. There's a lot of frustration that he had to deal with and answering questions and all the kind of, and I could see how that could wear on you.
Wait,
right?
pause.
So that
pause,
when it happens again.
All right. I love Mike Thomas. I love Mike T. All the frustration. I love Mike T. Guy, it wears on you. Okay, keep going.
And goodness, that is probably hard on the head, on the head and on the heart. You're like, gosh, dang it. And I don't even know exactly when it happened, but it probably wasn't the best ball. And I'm being completely honest. James knows. James played with me. I'm not going to throw a perfect ball 100 out of 100 times.
Okay. Oh, guys, probably wasn't a perfect ball. I'm not going to be perfect 100 out of 100 times. Guy probably wasn't a perfect ball, the one that got him hurt. Keep going.
I probably didn't throw the best ball, but if that's how he wants to view it and how he wants to see it, completely fine by me. And I understand also that when I came in the building, we have Chris Olave, who they were trying to train to be the #1 guy.
Okay. Now here we go. Buckle up. I understand. Gosh dang it, he's been such a good player, and now he's hurt, and gosh dog, and I probably didn't throw a good ball. But now they got Chris Olave, who they're training to be the #1 guy. Here comes the shots at Michael Thomas.
So all of a sudden, every rep and every read in practice is Chris first. And as a superstar that Mike is and what he has been, I can understand you're dealing with all the injury noise. You're dealing with now Chris has become a guy, and he loves Chris. That's his guy, Ohio State, all that. But I can understand where the frustration begins to build. I can understand where all those things begin to take place. But, there was times during the season where he'd be frustrated or this or that, and I wouldn't, tweet about it. I would just call him.
Okay. No, look. He was frustrated in the season, but I didn't. Love Mike. Great guy. Superstar. And I probably didn't throw a great ball. My fault. But I get it because, Chris Olave is really the guy now. And look, there were times during the year where I was upset with him, but I didn't tweet about it. I just called him like a man. Keep going.
And I'd just be like, look, bro, this is what it is, bro. We're grown men. We can talk about anything. And every time that, I went on there and, talked to him, there was times where I, went at him and confronted him about something and said something. And he probably over time with all the frustration grew to not liking that. But I've always just tried to tell the truth in love. And sometimes people don't like it,
I'm the good guy. I'm the good guy. I'm telling the truth in love. I'm telling the truth in love. Like, hey, look, he didn't. Now Derek Carr's speaking for Michael Thomas. I just tell him the truth, and he didn't like that. Truth in love. I'm the good guy. Keep going.
Mike finds what he's looking for. I hope he gets everything he wants in life, because I do love Mike. But at that moment, I didn't really like it. You know, I was like, you just call me, bro. Like, you know, to say this, to say all these things, like, I felt like it was like we're doing like some middle school thing, man. Just talk to me. And Mike was great about talking to me.
What do you think you just did? Feels like some middle school thing. The thing you're doing right now is the middle school thing. If you didn't like Michael Thomas's tweets, then call him and tell him you don't like him. Don't go on the 2 G's in a Pod show with James Jones and Amber Theo-Harris and basically say, well, that's the middle school stuff. You're doing the middle school stuff. Is he serious? Like, this is what he did with the Falcons game. There's a horrible interception. Play this. Horrible interception at the goal line. Awful read. Terrible. Your fault. You blew it. Here was the post game.
Oh, yeah, I know. I mean, he was playing one single high, and he left his responsibility. You know, you don't expect him to do that. You know, you don't, plan on that for that route. Thought she made a good decision, but Bates a good player, and he made a great play.
No, you screwed up. Hey, Eric McCoy. Remember when Derek Carr and Eric McCoy, they're fighting on the field with each other after the game? Here was Derek Carr after the game.
Me and Eric have no issue. In the moment, something happened. The reason doesn't matter. Everyone wants to know the reason. Everybody wants to know the why and what. It doesn't matter. We were both right. We were both wrong.
Stop! No! You're not both right, both wrong. Because all you did now was further piss off Eric McCoy. You minimized his reasoning. You said you were right. No! Say less. The guy can't get out of his own way. Do you want to know how you handle this? Let me not just yell. Let me tell you exactly how you handle this. Derek Carr goes on 2 G's in a Pod with James Jones and Amber Theo-Harris. And they bring up Michael Thomas's tweets about Derek Carr setting him up with a bad ball, and that's why he's injured. Here's how you answer it. Ready? Yeah, I did see it on Twitter. Mike and I, we talk plenty, and I know he had a lot of frustration around his injury, but he's been a great teammate. He's one of the greatest, if not the greatest receiver I've ever played with, and he's been a great guy in our locker room as well. Anything that might come of that, he and I have talked about it already, so we'll put it behind us and be better for it. Done! Over! 20 seconds! Nipped it in the bud, never to be talked about again. Instead, Derek Carr goes on a 2.5-minute rambling rant where there's passive aggressiveness, where he's taking shots at Michael Thomas for not being the number one anymore and saying it's some middle school stuff and why not just talk to me? Like, let me put it to you this way. And it doesn't matter how you feel if he's right or wrong or Thomas should or should have done it. Michael Thomas shouldn't have done it. And he's not going to be back with the organization, we know. But let me ask you this question. Could you have ever seen a scenario where Drew Brees would have done that? Think about that. Leader of the organization. Could you ever have imagined a scenario where Drew Brees would have gone on a podcast and for 2.5 minutes aired the dirty laundry between he and a teammate and insulted that teammate? Can you imagine that scenario? I can't. Joe Burrow spent the first 2 years of his career getting the crap kicked out of him. His knee blew up. Every time they'd bring up his offensive line, all he did was praise him. Patrick Mahomes this year, his receivers led the NFL in drops. Patrick Mahomes was asked about his receivers leading the NFL in drops this year. And you know what he said? He completely downplayed the entire thing. Took his affiliation of the blame, his part of the blame, saying he could have thrown better balls. And he said, quote, "It's part of football. It's a big part of us for this year, but I trust the guys. I know how hard they're working at it." That's what a leader does. You don't go call out your guys in public. How are you ever going to get them to trust you? Why doesn't this guy get it, man? And when you're at this point of your career, you're never gonna get it. God. I should have that song ready. Never gonna get it, 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 never gonna get it. Whoop, 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 whoop. Never. Y'all want to sing with me? Anybody? No? Anybody? We're good?
I don't know the words, Matt. I don't really know them.
The best part was actually from In Living Color. When Jamie Foxx was Wanda, the ugly girl. Anyway, woo, 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 woo. If you remember Living Color, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, my point is, man, Derek Carr is a 10-year veteran, and to be going on the 2 G's in a Pod show with James Jones and Amber Theo Harris and talking about Michael Thomas's tweets for 2.5 minutes, insulting Michael Thomas and calling him like some middle school stuff for going onto Twitter about it. You're no better. You are no better than Michael Thomas because you did the exact same thing. Instead of just saying, I love Mike, great player, great teammate. I'm sure he and I will talk when we're back in the building. That's all you had to say, and it's over forever. Instead, you made it worse because that's what Derek Carr does. He's incapable of just shouldering the blame and letting it go. It's like he'll start down the path, and then he'll do an about face. Just incapable, man. Unfortunate. I don't know how do you win a locker room, man? How do you win your locker room? How do you win favor with your teammates? How do you get this right? He's just incapable, man. He's just not capable of doing it. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.